Everyone still talks about Skyrim like it's the only open-world fantasy you truly get lost in. But there are a few hidden RPGs out there that give it a run for its money, and sometimes even better at certain aspects. These are the overlooked adventures full of factions, freedom, exploration, and choices that immerse you in a sandbox. They may not have Bethesda's budget or that intangible magic, but they are rough around the edges, just like Skyrim, and each offer a world you can truly live in. Here are the Skyrim-Likes you definitely missed, but absolutely shouldn't. If you end up liking the content, please subscribe for more, and I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and tell me what you think down below. Love to hear it. Tainted Grail. The Fall of Avalon is what happens when you take the open-world freedom of Skyrim and inject it with darkness. Inspired by corrupted Arthurian myths, the game drops you into a land suffocating under rot, fanatic rulers, and horrors born out of hopelessness. Every NPC seems one conversation away from breaking. It nails that rare sensation of exploring a world where human collapse feels inevitable. What makes it stand out is that it isn't afraid of role-playing depth. Choices have sharp edges. You're pushed into moral dilemmas, faction betrayals, and uneasy alliances. The writing leans dark fantasy rather than heroic epic. It feels more like a grim alternative to the Elder Scrolls. The survival elements also give exploration meaning. Light sources have limited duration. Stamina punishes reckless swings, and resting is a strategic decision. Nights are dangerous enough that you think twice before venturing out. Combat has improved significantly since its earliest builds. Hits feel heavier, magic builds are viable, and enemies require more than button mashing to handle. Crafting and alchemy help you prepare properly instead of relying on potions magically stuffed into pockets. But let's talk flaws because they do exist. Even in its full release, performance can stutter in dense environments. Animations sometimes feel stiff, and occasional bugs remind you this is a AA project, not a massive studio production. Voice acting is uneven, and some quests resolve more abruptly than expected. Critics often sit around mixed to positive, because while the world is incredible, the polish isn't always on par with the ambition. Yet that ambition is exactly why players love it. There's a soul to this game, a boldness that modern fantasy RPGs rarely attempt. If you ever wish Skyrim leaned further into horror, consequence, and despair, then Tainted Grail. The Fall of Avalon might be the dark fantasy world you've been searching for all along.
But he says that's no enough.
If you skip this because you heard it's just a mod, then you missed one of the best open-world RPG experiences in years. This isn't just a mod. This is a full-scale RPG that feels like a forgotten classic from the 2000s PC golden age. Built inside the Gothic 2 engine, it delivers more handcrafted detail and role-playing than many modern AAA releases. The island of Arkelos is packed with believable towns, dangerous wildlands, dense forests, and NPCs with their own problems and daily routines. The story feels grounded. You're not a chosen hero, not a dragonborn, just a young man trying to survive political chaos, unemployment, corruption, and a kingdom on the brink of war. The biggest strength here is choice. You can become a merchant, a pirate, a hired sword. Your job and skills actually define the kind of life you carve out. Every path leads to different skills, quest lines, and outcomes. Even gathering basic gear feels like struggling through a harsh medieval world, not looting a convenience store full of armor. And like Gothic, the game doesn't care if you struggle. Combat is unforgiving until you master the timing, and the early progression can feel harsh. And when you finally become strong, you remember every beating it took to get there. But that same ambition is also its biggest flaw for newcomers. The combat system is old-school Gothic's timing-based swings. Feels clunky and punishing for anyone used to Skyrim's smoother flow. Early hours are brutal. Wild wolves will humble you. Goblins feel like raid bosses, and even finding enough food can be a quest. The UI is outdated, animation stiff, and the engine shows its age everywhere, from odd collision to awkward jumping. Some players bounce off long before the story shines. Yet those who push through discover an RPG with massive depth. If you ever wish Skyrim had more grit, more challenge, more role-playing, Arkelos is the free masterpiece you didn't know you needed. You also get 2 great experiences for the price of one. Before Skyrim, before Oblivion, Arcane Studios created Arx Fatalis, a dark underground RPG that laid the blueprint for modern immersive sims like Dishonored and Prey. It's a game built around player freedom, where every object has a purpose, every system interacts with others, and magic isn't just a menu. It's drawn by hand using mouse gestures mid-combat. When a spell lands, you feel like you earned it. The world is entirely subterranean. Kingdoms and caverns, cults and hidden temples, giant worms and goblins fighting for territory. The sense of oppression and survival is constant. You scavenge for food, craft makeshift weapons, sneak through darkness to conserve resources, and solve layered puzzles using the environment instead of fetch quest logic. Skyrim gives you a compass. Arx gives you a world and says, figure it out. But with innovation came flaws. The combat can be clunky by today's standards, hitboxes are inconsistent, and those magic gestures, as cool as they are, can be frustrating when enemies are in your face. The UI feels ancient, and learning the systems requires patience. Because of that difficulty and its niche appeal, reviews were mixed at launch and many players missed it entirely. It didn't sell well, but became a legend among immersive RPG fans. Why? Because almost nobody else has ever built a magic system or dungeon world like this again. Player ingenuity is constantly rewarded. Choices cascade into surprising outcomes, and the narrative explores religious manipulation and societal collapse in a mature way that predates Skyrim's tone by a decade. Despite its aging tech, Arx Fatalis remains one of the closest spiritual ancestors to Skyrim's core idea. Go anywhere, solve anything, become what the world needs, or fears. It's flawed, messy, ambitious, and a must-play for anyone who wants to see where the genre evolved from. Two Worlds 2 is the perfect example of a game that not only is a tongue twister, but also aimed high and landed somewhere weird, experimental, and surprisingly fun. When the first game released, it became a meme for jank, so most players assumed the sequel was more of the same. But under the jokes and low expectations, it evolved into a deep, systems-driven, open-world RPG with ambition far beyond its reputation. Its strongest feature is freedom, the kind we Skyrim fans love. You can build absolutely outrageous spell combinations using its modular magic system, stacking runes to make storms of fire summoning tornadoes or healing shields that blast enemies away. The crafting allows you to break the game in satisfying ways, dismantling weapons to forge absurd monstrosities that feel earned rather than given. Exploration is huge. Deserts, savannas, tropical islands, and ruined cities, all connected by quests that encourage you to poke into dangerous places way too early. But let's be honest, none of that means the game is polished. The voice acting ranges from decent to this NPC is reading lines off a phone. The writing tries to mix serious fantasy with jokes that don't always land. Characters can feel stiff, animations floaty, and combat balance can swing wildly from too easy to extremely tanky enemies. The world is giant, sometimes too giant, leaving areas feeling empty or repetitive. And while the story has intrigue, it never hits the heights of even Skyrim's best moments. Because of this, reviews often sit around mixed. It's a love it or leave it game, where those who expect AAA smoothness get frustrated, but players who enjoy wild RPG freedom find something special. If you can do the same and enjoy experimenting with builds that completely rewrite the game's rules, Two Worlds 2 becomes a sandbox of creativity. Not perfect, neither boring.
You can easily counter his attack with a quick decisive.
Dread Delusion doesn't feel like Skyrim. It feels like a fever dream version of Skyrim. Imagine Morrowind, but instead of surreal fantasy grounded in logic, the world floats in the sky on bleeding chunks of cursed land. This is retro-style world building with weird fiction DNA, unsettling gods, twisted alchemy, and characters who speak like they know you're trespassing in a universe that wants you gone. The strongest part of the game is exploration. There's always something pulling you off the main path. Forbidden temples, rusted war machines, cult-ridden settlements, and secrets hiding behind every corner. Instead of stuffing filler content everywhere, the developers made sure every discovery matters, whether it leads to a disturbing side quest, powerful new gear, or existential lore. It taps into that feeling Bethesda used to excel at. The world rewards wandering. Combat is simple, almost too simple sometimes. You swing weapons, shoot guns, or cast spells, but it's not the focus here. The RPG systems lean harder into choices. Skill checks unlock dialogue paths. Sneaking can bypass entire fights. And alchemy lets you brew strange concoctions that can break the rules of survival. You decide how to engage. Violence is rarely the smartest solution. Graphically, it mimics PS1 era aesthetics, deliberately low poly, grimy textures, bold color palettes. It's not a game for players chasing realism. The audio design completes the mood. Droning synths, haunting whispers, and music that feels like ancient machinery grinding under the world's skin. It commits to its identity. But the flaws are clear. Performance can dip in dense areas, enemy variety is limited, and combat could use deeper mechanics. If you're here for smoothness and spectacle, you might bounce off. But if you love RPGs that take risks, that prioritize atmosphere, lore, and strange beauty, Dread Delusion is one of the most fascinating Skyrim-likes you didn't know you needed. The Bloodline is one of those indie RPGs quietly attempting what giant studios rarely dare. A true living sandbox fantasy where exploration and systems matter as much as story. Set in a procedural medieval world, you're part of a legendary bloodline with magic in your veins, destined to stand against a rising evil. But how you prepare for that threat is entirely up to you. You can focus on crafting, farming, or building your own base, join factions, or go solo and become a wandering battle mage or a stealthy mercenary. The game's flexibility is its biggest strength. But because it's early access, everything comes with a big asterisk. The ambition is massive. First-person combat, settlement management, exploration, survival mechanics. But the execution isn't fully there yet. Animations are stiff, AI can be clueless, and the combat still feels floaty and disconnected from the world. Some features are placeholders, many quests are basic, and balance is constantly shifting with updates. It's that familiar experience where you can feel the potential stronger than the current polish. That said, there's a unique charm in how it brings that wander anywhere, do anything feeling. Regions are distinct, filled with secrets, rare loot, magical shrines, and dungeons that always tempt you deeper than you should go. The progression system encourages experimenting with skills and spells, and there's a wonderful sense of going from powerless rookie to respected warrior in a world that doesn't scale to you. Reviews from players who bought in early are optimistic because the foundation is solid. You can see the Skyrim DNA. Exploration rewards curiosity, builds feel personal, and the world is dangerous without being unfair. The dev actively updates the game, listens to feedback, and aims high, maybe too high. The Bloodline isn't ready to stand next to giants yet, but if you love following an RPG as it grows, this one might become a future cult classic. Lilium is one of those obscure RPGs that most players have never even heard of. And yet, if you're someone always chasing that Skyrim feeling of wandering into the unknown, this game deserves to be on your radar. It mixes first-person exploration with spell casting, dungeon delving, and a world that feels handcrafted with passion instead of corporate templates. It's built on the classic Bethesda formula of, see a mountain? You can go there. Where it truly shines is atmosphere. Dark forests hide mysterious shrines and corrupted beasts. Abandoned fortresses tell stories through their architecture. Magic is not just another damage source. It feels dangerous, volatile, and powerful once mastered. You can experiment with different builds, from sword-wielding battle mages to stealth-based assassins who rely on runes and traps. Unlike many small indie RPGs, it actually rewards curiosity. The more you explore, the more the world opens up. But you can feel the budget limitations very clearly. Combat still lacks fluidity. Attacks don't always connect with proper feedback, and enemy AI can swing between too passive and suddenly lethal. Visuals are inconsistent. Some areas look striking, others feel like a Unity prototype. Storytelling is light, and some quests feel like placeholders rather than fully realized narrative arcs. It's the kind of game where you can tell the developers are building something ambitious piece by piece. Not everything is fleshed out yet. Reviews from early adopters often mention how it's a rough gem. The potential is huge, but the game requires patience and imagination from players to see the future it's aiming toward. This isn't a polished product. It's a passion project trying to deliver that immersive fantasy world RPG fans crave. If you enjoy supporting wild ideas while they grow, and don't mind some jank on the journey, Lilium could be one of those I was there before it blew up games. Monomyth wants to bring back a style of RPG that barely exists anymore. True immersive dungeon crawling, where every hallway hides a secret, every locked gate has 5 different solutions, and every mistake can cost you dearly. Inspired heavily by Arx Vitalis and Ultima Underworld, this first-person RPG throws you into the depths of a collapsing fortress city full of undead knights, ancient mechanisms, cursed relics, and labyrinths that feel like they were carved with intention, not copy-pasted from generic layouts. What makes Monomyth so intriguing is how system-driven it is. Water puts out fire. Fire lights torches that reveal hidden runes. Barrels explode if you knock them to sparks. Ropes let you climb to stealth vantage points. And vents allow you to bypass entire sections. You can approach problems like a thief, a warrior, or a wizard, and the game doesn't force you into any one build. It's the kind of RPG where curiosity is more valuable than combat stats. But as exciting as it is, it's still very early in development, and that shows. Combat is functional but not polished. Hit detection can feel loose, and enemy AI occasionally forgets what it's doing. Voice acting and UI clearly need more time, and animations can look stiff. Sometimes puzzles are less clever design and more fight the physics engine. It's the kind of game where ambition is ahead of execution for now. The building blocks are strong. Level design already scratches a Skyrim itch. Here, you're rewarded for getting lost, for experimenting, for thinking like an adventurer instead of a quest marker follower. Player reviews are optimistic because you can already feel the brilliance beneath the roughness. If you crave that immersive sim dungeon vibe, torches in hand, enemies stalking dark corridors, treasure locked behind ingenuity, Monomyth might become the next cult classic as it matures.